Hey guys, what's up? It is Ripe again, back with another crossover between Entitled People and r/Revenge, focusing on awful neighbors. If you haven't already, please don't forget to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for exclusive Reddit content such as Just No Mother-in-Law stories. Without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Entitled Neighbor Hates the Smell of Fire Pits and Thinks He Controls the Outside World. Short time lurker, first time poster, so hopefully my formatting is alright. This happened years ago, but I have recently found this sub and decided I may as well share. EN is entitled Neighbor. Background: so we live on a decent sized lot for the area and built an outdoor fire pit because who doesn't like fire? This had two purposes. First and mainly that we love to sit out and enjoy a warm fire and occasionally roast marshmallows, and we finally have a large enough space to have a good fire pit. Second was to give us a way to get rid of studs and wood lath without paying to haul it away. We are restoring an essentially abandoned house and we're in the early stages involving demoing some walls and rearranging the layout back how the house originally was before the horrible work that was done since the house was split over the past 70 years. Tons of very old dried wood to burn. We kept any really old studs for reuse, but a lot was the 1950s or later. And now onto the story. Within a month of setting up the fire pit, Entitled Neighbor climbs up our fence to look over and yells at us to put the fire out and that the smell was bothering him. Us being neighborly obliged and doused the fire. For a few months we continued to burn and kindly put the fire out whenever he complained, but then he declared war and called the fire department on us. The fire department came and told us that recreational fires are allowed, but unless we were actively cooking, it was not a recreational fire and was not legal. Since we were not cooking at this time, we had to put it out, so we did. Now, we only burned when we were cooking, and knowing that the neighbor could not make us stop, but we did not want to be the a-holes who moved in and caused trouble, so the next time EN told us to put the fire out, I tried to have our first, and last, friendly conversation about it. I told him that we will try to keep the fire down to at most once a week, so it does not get too bothersome. EN then responds that he will let us burn once a month and on holidays. I tried explaining he was not letting us do anything, that I was being polite by limiting our fires, but he was having none of it. To fully understand what an uncaring a-hole EN is, during this conversation he mentions that we were unneighborly by putting up a fence immediately after moving in. We have two dogs, but then comments that he put up few small panels of fence facing our house a while ago to hide the eyesore. Next, we had the health department show up at our door. A very nice guy shows up and says that a neighbor complained about us burning house parts. We take him back and show him our outdoor pile of wood and then the basement pile of wood waiting to be brought out when we finished that pile. He comments that wood lath, or lath, I'm not sure, is the best firewood and notes that we were being good about making sure no plaster was left on the wood. The best part is that after having a nice conversation with him about the fire, he mentions that he has never heard about the cooking equals recreational fire rule. This is when I decide to RTFM and find out what the rules actually are. It turns out that the state and county have no rules whatsoever, except that the fire pit must be more than a certain distance from combustible and structures and no larger than a certain size. This was not a problem in our case. I then moved on to the borough ordinances, and there it is. Recreational fires are allowed so long as they are more than 30 feet from any structure. That is the only mention of outdoor fires or fire pits anywhere in the rules. There is also no definition of recreational fire. I work for lawyers a lot and rely on the reading of statutes as part of my job, and I know full well, and since there is no definition for recreational fire, everything is a recreational fire. So now, armed with this, we just go about burning as we please. After a couple of burns, the fire department returns and they tell me to put it out. I explain to the fireman my understanding of the ordinance and he tells me to hold on and walks away, pulling out his cell phone. A few minutes later, he walks up and says, "I have one question for you. Is this a recreational fire?" I respond yes, and he shakes my hand and says, "Have a nice day." You would think that that would be enough for EN, but no. Within a week, one of my neighbors approaches me with a paper she found on her porch asking if the fire at my address bothered them. If so, please attend the next borough meeting to complain. I prepare myself with ordinances and get all professionally dressed to attend the meeting, and there in the audience was EN just waiting. I also noticed that 2 of the board members live on my block and both have outdoor fire pits. I sit there through the whole meeting waiting for EN to comment at the appropriate time, but he never did. I don't know if he recognized the board members as well or was scared of me being there to counter his stupidity, but this was the last we have ever heard of him. We continue to burn at will, however, much less often due to the lack of housewood, less likely to burn when we have to buy wood, and less time to relax. I gotta say guys, I was never aware of the term recreational fires because I thought people only use fires to cook marshmallows or something outside, or maybe to grill. Have you ever done any recreational fires? Let us know in the comments. And I gotta say, the last time we roasted some marshmallows over the fire was probably 3 or 4 years ago. I definitely have to do that again. And the next one is titled, "Enjoy my runoff, you jerk." I have a neighbor that is just a total douche. The guy is like 45 to 50 years old and he has the maturity of a 16-year-old. Got the big ass jacked up pickup truck that is loud as crap, plays the music in it so loud you can feel the vibrations in my house, is always buying these old beaters, works on them and sells them. The problem is he could give a crap where he parks them, they always are leaking oil everywhere and it is just a general eyesore. I've had to call the city umpteen times because he won't mow his yard, always piles up junk around the driveway. In short, he is just an awesome neighbor. Recently my car got sideswiped on the front end by basically a monster tire, all rubber marks on the fender, and I just know it was him. Of course I cannot prove it. Anyway, Asshead is working on another car out front right now and he literally has 2 tires of the car pulled up on the curb so he can get under it. I manually started my sprinklers about 10 minutes ago and in about 10 more he's going to be laying in the runoff as it leaves my yard and runs down the gutter. Ah guys, don't you just love petty revenge? The best way to get back at an annoying neighbor. And by the way, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you want to support me and if you enjoy my content. Thank you so much in advance. And guys, a little trigger warning for the next one because it is fairly violent, however it is a great story and it is titled 6 drunk military officers are arrested, 80 years of prison each, and a military base is banned from a city for attacking a family. This is, by the way, an epic pro-revenge story. So what happened? Me and my family have lived in this house for 13 years in a third world country that is known for being violent. It has been quite a pleasure since my mother is a figure of respect, so to speak, so we don't have any kind of enemies or nothing similar. We were just a middle class family living it out. Before the tragedy, we lived just my stepdad, brother and sister, and mom, which was pregnant at the time, and me. However, this Saturday changed my life forever. As they were making the baby shower preparations, my dad saw some intruders going into the neighbor's house, which he responded with a couple of gunshots to the ground, scaring the robbers out and making them run, and that was the end of that. However, this seems to caught the attention of 6 military soldiers that were passing by, which were very young, to verify all was okay. It is understandable as it was their job. However, it seems that in the moment of the heat, they were in the influence of alcohol, making this whole situation more disturbing. Continuing the facts, my mother, which was there to tell them the facts, was told to lay down facing down the floor, as they, for some reason, thought it was a good idea to make a pregnant woman to go down to the floor. When my mom declined and stated the obvious, she was told to stop with the BS. They also wanted the dad's gun, which was legally operable and had the papers covering that it was legal. When they were told these facts, it seems that these guys did not like that, shooting my mom in front of my dad, making this man go in fury as her wife, which had his son, was on the floor bleeding out. To make it all short, a handgun was no match for 6 assault rifles. My dad, rest in peace, you were an amazing man, died in the confrontation. My brother tried as well to fight back, which resulted in him getting shot, and I called the police, the good man in blue, for them to take care of the situation. It was hell to wait, 5 minutes of shooting, neighbors were scared crapless. It seems that everything we had as a family just went to the drain. At this point in the story, I was 12 years old and I was just crying because my mom was in the hospital and my sister was too young to realize what happened. My big brother was out of the hospital first, claiming revenge on those who took their happiness. My mom afterwards, she got recovered physically but not mentally, so as a family we thought that it was a good plan to make these murderers pay for their sins. So, on to the revenge. After recovering from the brink of death, my mom first destroyed the image of the military of the whole country, making this a national-wide news, stating that the military of this country kills their own people, and afterwards the military heard the news about this. They wanted to stop my mom, which they could not, as they are so incompetent that they tried to offer her just a public apology, which was redacted by one of the surgeons of the base that covers the city I live in, and literally a damn coupon for $20 for a supermarket. I don't know what that was about. My mother was furious to know that this was the only thing they offered. Who could blame the woman? She had her life completely ruined. So, to make things equal, she sued the 6 military officers that took action that night, and to top it all off, she wanted for the guys to be judged as citizens and not military. The trial goes down after 2 months of this claim. These damn guys, they admitted everything about the alcohol, the shooting, everything, and the damn prosecution stated that was all in self-defense. Needless to say, our attorney was just relieved to get an easy trail in his hands, and the glare of my mom to the military officers was so dense that you could cut it down with a damn nail clipper. The jury found the guys guilty. They got 80 years of prison. We later hear that these guys were going to be sent down to a prison in which my uncle was as well, not a good family member, but family at the end of the day, and 2 weeks later photos were sent to us of the military guys. They got beaten. Needless to say, uncle stated that these guys will be experiencing the hell until he is out of there. So that is that. However, my mom was not happy. She wanted more. She wanted to take out the military out of the city, wipe down with them off the face of the earth. She placed down a petition, which was supported even by the mayor, to take out the military base of the city and also for her to get paid for the damage she went through, and after some legal mumbo jumbo I was too young to understand, and other 3 long months, there was no trace of the military. They needed to get off the city ASAP. Media were a sting. The criminals of the area, which knew the situation as it was covered by national media, made a communication for them to burn down the base if they don't leave the city. And basically the people of that base were just begging for my mom to stop it all, but my mom had none of it, and to put the nail in the coffin, the president came down to check on the situation on the base, and when the base reported all, which they had to do as they were obligated, the president shut it down, firing all the idiots that were higher up in the base, and also putting charges to the leaders of this base as they found some illegal alliance with criminals, which it seems was the triggering of those wanting to burn the place down to ashes. And now onto the aftermath. At the end, we still live in the same house that was attacked 7 years ago, making our best effort, and there's now a special police, military as well. However, they are far more strict and nice, that are nice to everyone and do not look down to the people. And my mom was seen as the walking miracle, and now we are waiting to move out of this place and seek a future in another country. I hope this works for us. And the next one is titled, Impatient Woman Cannot Wait to Take My Seat. This happened a few years ago when I had to take the bus to work. And by the way, I drive now, thankfully. The The bus I used to get to work went from the bus station in one town, stopped a short while in the next town, then onto the bus station at a third town. After this, they would repeat the journey back to the first town. I got the bus at the first town and got off near the second town. The bus was awful at 6 AM as it was nearly full by the time it left the first station. It was usually the same people each day, so I knew when we would be stopping, who was getting on and where people were getting off, at least up to where I got off the bus. A couple of stops before I got off the bus, a certain lady would get on the bus. I guess she must have noticed when I was getting off, so she started getting into the habit of standing next to my seat to wait to sit down. By the time we got to my stop, the seats were always taken and people were standing. I never really took any notice of her and just got off the bus, but after a couple of weeks it started to annoy me as there were people who had been standing for much longer and she got on and took a seat almost straight away. Eventually I had some days booked off work, did not have any plans, was just going to stay home and play video games all week. I'm normally up very early, even on my days off. Since I still had my bus ticket paid for the month, I decided to go on a bus ride. To make it seem like there was nothing different, I put my work clothes on, put my headphones on and got the bus towards my work. Sure enough, the woman gets on and comes to stand by me. When we were near my stop, I stood up, adjusted my trousers and hoodie and went to sit back down. Unfortunately, she had decided to sit straight down on the seat with her legs in the aisle way, expecting me to move out of the way. I asked her to move so I could sit back down, to which she argued that I was getting off the bus in a moment, so why does it matter? I told her that this was not my stop and I was not getting off the bus. She started screaming that she sees me get off the bus every day at this stop and that I am a liar. She was quickly attracting attention from the people around us. The bus driver had to come over to ask her to move as he had seen me sat here the whole time. After more attempted arguing with the driver, who threatened to kick her off the bus if she didn't move, she reluctantly got up and waited for another seat. Unluckily for her, one didn't come available and she had to stand for around an hour till we got to the third station where she got off. I waited on the bus and went back home, a couple of hours well spent. I decided to repeat this for the rest of the week. She would still come and stand near me, but when I didn't get off at my usual stop, she huffed and went to stand somewhere else. After the fourth day, she stopped standing near me. When I went back to work, she rushed towards my seat when I got up to get off the bus. I'm guessing she figured I was back at work, so she started standing near my seat again. I was not going to let her win, so I would ask someone else who had been standing for a while if they wanted to sit down, ensuring I blocked her from getting to the seat before they could. I made sure to smile at her when I walked past the window. She would keep trying to get my seat, but I made sure each time she had to stay standing. Thankfully I drive now, so I don't have to see her anymore. And guys, I gotta say, public transport in Europe is not actually that bad, but I always hear some horror stories about public transport in the US. How is public transport in your country? Are there a lot of messed up people in there, or is it pretty normal? Let us know in the comments. And guys, unfortunately, we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.